Today, Graham joins me on the podcast, and he is a very interesting man. He's had a continental experience, which we will go through today. Graham, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jamie. Thanks for having me, mate. Appreciate it.
No worries. Well, look, of course, it's been a long time coming, and I want to hear about your whole career. But it all started off, I believe, at Celtic. But just before Celtic, what came there? What was your first intuition into football?
God, all right, mate. I can't remember last week. I'm going to have to dig deep here. The big thing was I was born in Scotland, but moved to England at a young age, at like 2-year-old, and then I came back to Scotland at about 7-year-old, and my cousin wanted to be a goalkeeper, and he said, "Oh, do you want to come?" And we were living with him at the time, and he just wanted to come and hit shots at him. And he goes, "Oh my God, you were left-footed, and you had a big shot," or whatever he said. He said, "You should come to my under 10s or 11s team." And like being 7-year-old, I was like, "Yeah, no worries, whatever." So yeah, went there, mate. Played football. Was very fortunate to have a dad coaching, but the dad was such a great guy, because I know that it can put people off nowadays. But yeah, he was a great guy, mate, and ended up just playing boys club football as people did. Slept with the football at night, kicked the ball against the wall a million times. Got into trouble by all the neighbours. Got into trouble at school for kicking a ball, and yeah, luckily enough, trained for a lot of professional teams. In Scotland, you would be like Celtic, Rangers, Aberdeen. They would all have little centres in or close to your area. And I was fortunate enough to get picked up after playing at Fyfe Boys Club, which was actually a really cool boys club, just a small town, but actually made a few professional players, which was cool. And yeah, got picked up by Celtic at 13, 14, and went through that whole system.
Well, look, Celtic is no small club. You ended up in the biggest club in, well, it's debatable, in Scotland. You joined in a period where they had quite a few big names as the managers, Dalglish, Barnes, and obviously Martin O'Neill. So to go into a club that has these former players and now obviously big-time managers at the helm, what was it like for you to go to there?
It was really surreal, mate. It was. And yeah, but as a young kid from the council estate and growing up in Scotland, you kind of just went with stuff. You know, like you just dug deep, worked hard. I had a family that worked hard. You know, my dad left when I was young, so I seen my mum working her tail off day in day out, and I just thought, well, if I just go and work hard, let's see what can happen. So yeah, it was intimidating. Like, I had like Henrik Larsson that played, and Paulo Di Canio was there at the very start, and like unbelievable, talented, amazing, world class players, and you just try to soak things up and learn from them and see what happens. So that was kind of what we all done. Like, we all came from different parts of Scotland and Ireland, and we just all kind of dug in and tried to play good football.
Well, look, during that period, Celtic were really, really dominant in Scottish football, but also in international football. The last year that you were there, they obviously got to the UEFA Cup final. For you in your day-to-day life being there, what did you actually do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so we stayed in digs at the time, so we stayed with another family, and there was 4 or 5 of us, a few Irish boys, myself and Sean Maloney, who went on to have, he's back at Celtic now, an amazing career. We stayed in the same room together. He was from Aberdeen, Sean, and being from Dundee, it wasn't too far away. So yeah, we stayed there. We woke up in the morning, had breakfast, and then sometimes had breakfast at the club. Go and train in the morning. You probably do, most of the time we've done double sessions. Well, that's the ones I remember. And we tried to watch the first team or be around the first team when we could, and how they trained, how they acted. And yeah, mate, you just grinded away, and you done all the, I don't know what it's like nowadays, but you done a lot of jobs. So you would clean boots, move the goals, and it didn't bother me too much, because I knew what my friends were doing while they were still leaving school, and they're grafting and under car bonnets and getting electrocuted, being an electrician and stuff like that. So moving goals and cleaning boots wasn't too bad.
Well, look, I think that's the proper way to do football. Look, you need to have a hierarchy in place, and I suppose later down in the line in your career, you would have moved up that hierarchy. Now, as a coach/manager, would you try and implement the same system if you were in the same environment now as the manager?
Yes and no. I think yes, I think they need to I think young players need to know that football's not easy, and they need discipline, and you need to be like, do little jobs here and there. So even at the clubs I've been at as a head coach, you do give jobs out. I just do it a wee bit different. You can't be as ruthless as kind of what I was back then. I think the day and age is a bit different. So you can't just go old school on them, and everyone goes, "I'd be old school," but there was nothing wrong with old school either. So I think a little bit is very important.
Of course, of course. Look, I'm a big admirer of your journey individually. Just hearing all of these stories, and again, being at Celtic, you had to have that mentality, that style. I suppose the aggression at times to maintain your way in the game. So at Celtic, for example, what were you doing away from the game? So I know that you are constantly thinking about football, but sometimes you need to not think about football. So what were you thinking then?
That's actually a great question, mate, because it is tough because it's a bit of a cauldron. Because like the players ahead of you, obviously these superstars that you're going to try and take their place one day, and then you've got the boys around you who were brilliant. I mean, Celtic and Rangers literally picked the best kids in Scotland and Ireland and England at times. If some kids couldn't make, like Man United, I remember players coming on trial from Real Madrid. So you're going against the best. Yeah, so going away from football, I was lucky enough that I was with a couple of Irish boys who were just good, funny lads. So you would just do, well, to be fair, we'd go out for a kick sometimes with the ball, but other times you just have a bit of fun, man. Just have a bit of a laugh. I did like to draw. Not a lot of people know that, but for my own downtime, I would, get the pencil and paper out and do some drawings and stuff. But half the time it was footballers or something to do with football that you would draw. So yeah, it kind of consumed you, mate. But to be fair, it was I loved it. So it didn't feel like a job, or it didn't feel consuming. It was what I love to do.
Well, as a young person in this society, I keep trying to hammer myself down that there are some fun jobs out there, but there's also negatives to every job. So what was the negatives in your job now and also back then as well?
Yeah, back then, mate, when I suppose, do you know what? How I would say it was when it actually became a job. Like, it was never felt like a job when you played football. You just loved it. But when it came to like contracts and you had to play to get paid more, and then like coaches would go like, "This is your job. You need to do this on the pitch." I love much prefer football when it's a bit more free. And I think even like nowadays, I know there's a job to be done. Don't get me wrong, and everyone wants to win, but I look at football nowadays and I feel like there's a lot of players doing their job rather than playing with a bit of freedom, and I think it's gone missing, to be honest. So yeah, when football became a job, when you're fighting for contracts, when you're injured, you ask most players, especially as a young player, like being injured is the worst thing, because you're not just missing out on training and games, but you feel like you're like people are going one step up the ladder every month, and you're staying on that same one, or even falling down it. So they were difficult. They've got a lot of difficult moments. A lot of difficult moments.
You went out on loan to Wraith Rovers. Obviously, I think we all know in this day and age. To go there, your first proper experience of men's football, what was that like? What did you expect, and what did you really get out of it at the end?
God, yeah, great question too, mate. I remember expecting that. To be honest, a bit naive. I think I was expecting to go and play and just be like, they'll play good football and I'll fit in and I'll do it. There was a couple of Spanish boys that were in charge and they did want to play good football. But I remember getting to Starks Park and the kit man came in and he threw the kit in the middle of the dressing room. Well, at Celtic, it was sort of hung up for you or ready to, you had your own number and stuff. So, but again, it didn't bother me that. I wasn't I was from the council estate, so it didn't bother me too much, but it was a big shock factor. And then we'd put on our boots and walk down the path under the train station to this public field and literally like kick off a dad and his son on the pitch to kick the ball about, and that was it was a big difference, mate. That was a big shock. The travel from Glasgow to Fife was something I thought I'd like, and it ended up it just didn't, mate. It wasn't a good move in that sense. And being away from Celtic, the coaching, the standards, it was a big difference, mate. It was a big difference, but it did grow you up. You did have to become a man pretty quick, and look after yourself. And I did enjoy that part, and that's helped me. Even now being a dad and an older man now, it's definitely helped.
I think you did pretty well on the pitch, no, right? I thought you had a decent amount of game time, and I thought your output was pretty good.
It was, but I just felt like I could have done more. And I think and to be fair, mate, I still think that even today I was coaching today, and I still think I can do more. And it's probably a strength and a weakness, because the strength wise you're always trying to improve, but the weakness is, I don't know, you just kind of you doubt yourself a wee bit, and that's something where if I was speaking to young players nowadays, I tell them not to doubt themselves, man, because if you do, you don't play the way you should.
Well, you had a football career, right? And there's loads of footballers who also have football careers, right? For me, I often think that perhaps it went a bit too quick. I think you would probably regret not being that young player now and being on the pitch and still kicking the ball about.
Very true, mate. And I that's one thing where I don't know how people can quit football, like no matter what level, because it's just when you put the boots on and you play and you're winning or you're losing at half time and you're trying to get back to win, like that feeling's the same. Like I know if you're playing for Man City or anything, the money's a bit different, but I think feelings are just the same, man. It is what it is. So yeah, I've played football my whole life. I played till I was 39. Still played the tournament last year at 42. So it's still, I just still love the game.
Do you still feel as good as you did back then?
Do you know what, mate? No, definitely not. But I do feel better. I remember being 33, 34, and I felt a lot better than what I did at 24. Just learning how to look after your body more and really looking at nutrition and recovery, and because you never really bothered when you were younger, you just kind of got on with it. And at certain ages, like having beers with your teammates after games was like a normal thing, but you don't actually realise the damage it's doing. So yeah, right now, nah, I wouldn't say I feel as good as what I used to, but there was a moment when I was older that I did feel better than what I was when I was, mid-20s or whatever.
You mentioned contracts earlier on. Your second club that you really joined was Cheltenham Town. So to go there, was there an agent involved back then, or was it just you?
Now there was an agent. I had an agent that got me to Raith Rovers, and then after that, I wasn't too happy with what was going on, but it kind of led to, he was the same agent for Jonathan Gould, who was a goalkeeper at Celtic, and he remembered me at Celtic. We played a few games together in the reserves and trained together a lot. And then his dad, Bobby Gould, who you might know, was managing at Cheltenham. And Johnny told Bobby about me, that I was in between contracts, and then invited me down for a trial. It wasn't a contract straight away, so it was a bit of a risk, mate. Like you're leaving a country, leaving Celtic, Raith Rovers, to then go on a trial. You just never know what can happen. But I did believe in myself, and I thought that the way Bobby spoke on the phone about the football he wanted to play, the players that he had some, Grant McCann, who was in Northern Ireland International, and Jamie McCreedy was the left back who played for West Ham. And I thought, two left footers beside me on the side, I thought we could do something here. So yeah, that's sort of how it happened, mate. I went down on the train and trialled.
And what was the trial experience like for you? Was it a bit more of a shock compared to Raith Rovers, or was it a bit more like Celtic, a bit more back in the comfort zone?
Nah, it was definitely a shock, mate. Some of the English boys, and what I did realise, I always thought that when you went on trial, people wanted you to be there because you might add to the squad. But what the reality is, in my opinion now, is they don't want you to be there because you might take the place. So you could feel that, you know what I mean? So you really had to earn. First of all, I had to earn the respect, I think, from the playing group, because in the dressing room, you can't be I don't want to swear, but you can't be like that in the dressing room. You can't be that kind of person without them seeing how you play first and how you are off the ball and the stuff that you'll do to try and help the team. So I had to win them over pretty quick, and I learnt that within like a couple of days. Just for some comments that were coming back, and I could hear it to other trialists, and I thought, that's not going to happen to me. So once I'd done that, it was a good experience, but I think people could come unstuck there.
Well, Cheltenham's a big club now, and you played in League Two for the 2 seasons that you were there. What was your best experiences playing in League Two?
Oh mate, do you know like the Friday night games and the FA Cup games? I remember playing like you play like it was like Fulham that the boys got, and we played a few Friday night games, and there was like 9,000, 10,000 people there, and like you never got that at Celtic under 23s, or the 18s, and you didn't get that at Wraith Rovers. So the fans were, yeah, and like people shouting your name, or they might have your name on the back of their top, and I thought, well, that's pretty cool, man. And it was, they say real football. It was more, yeah, end to end football, exciting football. Didn't suit me looking back 100% because I'm a smaller player who like to get the ball on the ground and play, and I had to learn how to read a flick on in England, and I never learnt that before at Celtic. That wasn't a thing that you had to learn. But yeah, I loved that. The boys were good, and the playing group was amazing, mate, and the culture was really good, and getting in the first team. Yeah, there's nothing beats the smell of a first team dressing room. It was brilliant.
And what does it smell like?
Not literally. just just that feel and just that, yeah, that aura that you get being in the first team. Yeah.
Of course. You guys
There's a
finished
few dodgy
14th.
smells.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, look, you finished 14th in both seasons when you were there. Was that the expectation that you were a mid-table side, or was there disappointment in either season?
There was big disappointment, mate. I think in those leagues, you're just on any given day. There might be one or two clubs that spend more, but I think that you always felt like you could win most games. Even going like Swansea away and playing that, you felt you could get results. And I just feel like when Bobby was there, he wanted to play this free flowing attacking football, get the ball in their half and in their third, like 160 times a game. Like that was the sort of stats he was after. And I loved it, mate. I was attacking football. You'd win 4-3, some 3-all games, and it was just amazing. And then like other coaches come in and go, right, we're not going to concede, and we'll try and jam a 1-0 win. And I'm not saying it's wrong. It just wasn't my way of playing football. But yeah, I think everyone wants to try and get into the playoffs, mate. Even for that experience to go through the playoffs, to try and make a final, or to get promoted. It's an amazing thing for any club, especially clubs like Chelsea.
How did your time at Cheltenham Town end? Because I know that, again, you moved to, well, you really started to your continental experience of clubs. So how did you leave Cheltenham, and was it the best decision you made?
Look, I had a bit of a misunderstanding with the coach who came in. And looking back, I thought it was all his fault. But as I got older, I was definitely a part of that. And I just felt like my life outside of football was taking a wrong turn, to be honest. And people I was hanging around with, things I was doing that I probably shouldn't have. Well, I definitely shouldn't have as a professional. It wasn't too bad, mate, but just not as good as what I should have been. And I wasn't getting the chances I felt I deserved. And I still agree with that. Like, I would play well and then be dropped the next game because I was a young player, not because of how I played. And speaking to people after it happens. I get it. I'm an easy drop, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I ended up trying to move back to Scotland, mate, and I went back to Scotland to trial with a few clubs. I went to Dundee and a few. They just went into administration just as I got there, which was a shame. And I was at Gretna for a little bit, and then they went in. They went bust, totally bust. I was like, Jesus, what's going on here? I was like the curse of clubs, and yeah, started trialing around, and then it was actually Jonathan Gould that got in touch with me again, and just said, "Oh, wee man, you're in between contracts. I've got a club coaching. We'll pay flights, accommodation, and all that, blah blah blah, to come to New Zealand." And I was like, "Play New Zealand?" I didn't even know they played football there, mate. I thought they was just do the haka and loads of sheep. I wasn't sure what was going on, and I spoke to one of my coaches, and he went, "Fyfe, why don't you go for 6 months, get your head right, play football again, experience something new, and see what happens." And that's sort of how it happened, mate.
And did you enjoy your experience over there? You played nearly 70 times, scored nearly 35 goals. I think you did a pretty good job out there.
I did, mate. I actually really enjoyed it, and I fell in love with the coaching as well. pretty early doors in New Zealand, and I had to make a decision after 6 to 8 months on, do I come back and try and be a pro somewhere in the UK, which I had a couple of offers to come and trial, or do I make a career of part-time football and part-time coaching, knowing that coaching could then be my thing after? And it was a really tough decision, but the people in New Zealand were great. They're very family orientated, and I just loved the environment. The club was brilliant. I was playing well again, and playing 90 minutes every week. There's nothing beats that. And I was kind of like, would you say, like a bigger fish in a small pond potentially? So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed being a leader. I enjoyed trying to, boys wanting to give you the ball and try and make a difference in the game. So yeah, I just stuck at it for another year, and that led to 4.5 years. I just made a lot of life for myself.
I can understand why people want to be managers, coaches, people who aren't the players. But at the same time, leaving the pitch and not being in control of what's going to happen, why would you defend that now as a manager? Why would you say, no, actually, coaching is the wonderful thing that it can be?
Yeah, I think what I done, I would really recommend it to a lot of players. Like, try and start coaching younger, so that you can get a lot of experience before you retire. So you're still got that playing, and you can still do some coaching, whether it's an assistant or just helping or whatever. You can't. I don't think you can be the head coach and play. I think that's really tough. But I'd say to people to do that, because you can iron out some stuff. You can see where your sort of philosophy lies as a coach before you're even a head coach. And look, to be honest, mate, coaching will never replace playing, but it is a very good second, because you get to see other players, you get to help players. I always tell people, I can tell you what to do until you're 20, I can tell you what not to do until you're 24, and then I can tell you how to get back on it again. So yeah, you can sort of give your experience, and you're still part of the game. You still get those feelings of half time, before the game, after the game. But it's a lot more difficult, mate, than playing. I'll tell you that.
You went to Redlands United, again, played over 200 times, scored over 100 goals. You are quite the goal machine for a midfielder, aren't you?
I was, mate. And I remember being a kid scoring lots of goals. Actually, my mum gave me my scrapbook when she moved out to Australia, and it was cool to look back and, you're getting like 115 goals in under 14s, right? Now, don't get me wrong, the keepers are tiny, the goal's big, like pretty much. But you look at players now, they don't get that much often. When I went to Celtic, they moved me from striker to left wing back, because you're fit and you were left footed, so I'd done that. So I never got quite as many goals, as still maybe 15, 20 a season in the youth team and stuff, but not as many as I could have. At Cheltenham, it was pretty much 4-5-1, and it was a lot of defending, mate. And as I say, there was lots of learning flick-ons, and it wasn't so free-flowing football, and you didn't really get many chances to score. But yeah, when I came to New Zealand, it was better. But then Redlands was, my coach was brilliant, mate. He gave me a lot of license to get on the ball. Also took a lot of free kicks and penalties, which helped. But yeah, man, I love scoring goals. I think it's no better feeling.
And what's it like to play in Australia?
Good, mate. It's good. It's I mean, that's a really crap answer. But when I first got here, it was very hot, obviously. So playing like during the day, mate, in pre-season, I remember playing my first 45 minutes going, I am straight on the next flight out here. There's no danger I can play in this heat. It's mental. But then when you get used to it, and you're playing a lot of night games, yeah, a lot of coaches here want to play good football. There's not a lot of long ball, route one. Everyone's trying to play, so there was a lot of free flowing football. The standard's not amazing, mate. I'll be honest. Like, you could play, because of your background. You could play pretty comfortable here, which again, it sort of gave you that sort of freedom to try more stuff again and be a kid again. Do the step overs and do the moves and shoot from, a few different angles than what you might get in trouble with when you're back home. But it's a good level, mate. And there's a lot of ex-British people, a lot of people from around the world that come over here that have played at a good level. So yeah, it's very enjoyable football. I'll say that.
Do you not think, though, that am I right in saying that you can't get promoted in Australia? Is that correct?
And that's one massive flaw in this country. To be honest, mate, it's huge. It's huge. The A League, which is the professional league, yeah, there's no promotion relegation. So a lot of teams they'll try and win the league. Then halfway through the season, if they're not winning, they'll play their kids and just say, "Oh, we're a development club this season." So just to hide the fact that they can't win a game, which is frustrating. And then in the next tier down, which is the National Premier League, they've now got promotion relegation. So there's a little bit of that going on here now, but it's only semi-pro. So to be honest, it doesn't mean as much as what it does, in professional land. So until they fix that here, which it's very bottom funded here instead of top funded, so it makes it difficult. I don't think it was going to go too far until they get that.
No, I completely agree. And that was, you basically answered my question right there. In 2012, you finished first. You were the champion of the BPL. So what was that like to be a winner, a club champion?
It was great, mate. I know a lot of good footballers throughout my whole career that don't win a trophy, and there's no better feeling. As I said before, like whether it is, like, I'm not going to say Premier League and Champions League, but you still get a great feeling when you're in a final or you're winning a league, So that was brilliant, mate. And the group that year actually knew each other I came here 2009. We won the grand final that year, my very first year, which was awesome. We played the team. I didn't really know them at the time, but they were like the big club, the one that paid the most money for players. Ex-professionals that played for them. They actually said no to me joining their team. I actually asked them, but they said they were full. So it was nice to get man of the match and beat them in the final. Because I don't know if you know, mate, you probably do, but you play the league here, and you're only the minor championship, and then the top four go into a playoff, and then you play a grand final. So the Aussies love the grand final more than winning the league, and that was very strange because as you know, the best team wins the league. You need a wee bit of luck to win a cup, but over here, if you win the cup at the end, that's like the big thing. You're like the best in the league. We came fourth the first year and won the final, and we are classed as the best team in that league. And I'm like, that's mental. But anyway, I'll take it. But yeah, it was amazing. Winning trophies, having medals. Now I've got kids. You can show them, some replays and show them medals and stuff. I mean, yeah, they collect dust a wee bit now, but it's still cool once you have kids again,
Of course. And you won the Golden Boot as well. Is that in the living room somewhere? Where's that?
No, well, mate, I try every year. I try and put it up in the mantelpiece and in the main stage, but my wife puts it in a little box outside. So, yeah, every time she moves it, mate, I do my best to get it out. I try and show people. I say, look, Dad, did used to be able to play and score, but yeah, that's just in a box somewhere. But yeah, that's cool. I mean, I've always been a team player, but those goals meant a lot to the team, and obviously you pick up a wee award at the end. It's nice.
Towards the back end of your career, 2018-19, you went to Rochdale Rovers. For you, now you're saying the back end of your career, it must have been quite upsetting to start to see that your career, built on 5, 10, 15, 20 years of success, is now all of a sudden coming to an end.
Mate, it actually sucked. I remember being 36 and I had osteitis pubis and I was going to retire. I just had enough. I thought 36, 37, osteitis pubis, what's the point? Found a new way of nutrition and recovery, and then Scott McNichol, who played for Dunfermline actually, scored a goal against Celtic. He'll always remind you of that. He asked me to come and play for Rochdale, and I was like, I didn't know what to do, and I was like, do you know what? I felt good, so I went in there. The boys were brilliant. It's a great club. I've actually got a feeling I'll probably end up coaching there one day. It was such a good club. And yeah, I actually loved the season. I played, I think, every minute. Ended up top goal scorer, player of the year, players player of the year, which was that was probably one of my real highlights of football because I was going to retire. I'd had enough, but to get my body right and to do that for a club, a really good club over here in Australia, it was a really nice season, mate. It was very memorable, and yeah, I'll forever love Rochdale for that. It was good.
You spoke about nutrition not too long ago. What changed in your career? So did you have the Nutellas, did you have the chocolates, the sweets, or did you completely bin that off and go to like the strawberries and the blueberries and the bananas?
Yeah, I mean, I was a new dad at the time, so you're just eating on the run, loads of coffees. You'd have beers after games, all the stuff that you do. But my body wasn't acting the same as what it used to. So I actually found this nutritional program. A friend put me in touch with, and it was just high protein, like all carbs, good fats. You cut out some junk. Well, I still love chocolate, mate. I'll probably have a little bit after this call. But yeah, it was more like 80-20%. 80% super healthy, but eating at the right times as well. So I could recover quicker and perform harder the next day, whatever I was doing. And yeah, it made a big difference, mate. And now I can pass it on to players that think they need to retire. I can help them. And obviously my kids and people that I coach. So it's been a great learning that.
I suppose if you go to Japan, you're going to have the sushi, but in Australia, what do they have in terms of the healthy dishes?
Yeah, they just barbecues, mate. They just barbecue anything.
I
It's
forgot
a
about that,
lot.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah, they do love. They love a lot of meats, mate. Yeah, the healthy stuff. The world now, man. You can get anything. Like we walk down the street
Mm.
here where we live, and you can get sushi, Thai, Indian. You can get whatever you want. So, but yeah, the Aussie barbecue is a good one, mate. So it's good red meat. Yeah, pasta, potato, whatever. They love it.
And what's your favourite unhealthy food?
Oh, great question, mate. Um, I do really love chocolate. I've got to admit, got a soft spot for chocolate, mate. The family and I really love going for an Indian. The Indian over here is really nice. So yeah, that would they'd be my two best ones.
My pet peeve about chocolate is when it's half melted. You need to put it in the fridge and have it very, very hard.
100%, hundred
Okay,
percent, mate.
good.
Yeah,
Good.
hundred
I'm glad
percent.
we had.
This milk, and in Australia, mate, you can't leave it in the cupboard for long. That'll be dripping down the shelves, mate. You got no
Of course,
chance.
of course. I wanted to ask actually. So now you're in Australia. People don't want to move to Australia, maybe including myself, due to numerous things. One of those being the bugs, the spiders, the snakes. Have you ever seen any?
Yes, but not
Mm,
nearly as many as you think.
okay.
You see all
Uh,
the movies and you see the stories, and you think there'll be like spiders in your shoes. And don't get me wrong, mate, I'll bang my shoes every morning just in case. But there's never been a huntsman in my shoes yet. But yeah, you'll get them in the house. You'll get the big huntsmans here, and you'll see a few snakes here and there, but nothing,
oh.
nothing. Nah, it's nothing crazy. They're more scared of you, but the bugs, they are a wee bit annoying. The midges and the mosquitoes and that. In Scotland, the cold killed everything. So yeah, you learn to live. But there's so many positives compared to that. It's not funny.
So for someone like me, then in England, would you always recommend going to Australia?
I would, mate. I definitely would. I think home's always there. I think experiencing different people, different cultures. I don't see any downside to it, mate. To be honest, if you ever get the opportunity, even for a year, you would 100% not regret it. 100%.
Well, I'll have to add it to the bucket list. Before you retired, you joined Wolves in 2022. This is just before you became a coach, but I suppose during that time you were thinking, it's the end of my career. It's time to become a coach.
Yeah, it was. I was coaching at the Brisbane Roar under 18s, 23s, had a little stint with the first
Mm.
team as assistant, and then I went to Wolves to actually help a friend become the coach. He was struggling to find a gig, so Wolves said, "Well, if you both come together, we'll give Mark, which his name was, the head coach role, and you can help him." But I was coaching at the Roar, so I went, "Yeah, no worries." And then Mark went, "Well, Fife, do you want to play still?" He went, "Maybe you can help while you play, like a lot of young boys." And to be fair, mate, there was two or three boys that I'd coached when they were like 10 and 11, 12-year old who were playing in the first team. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. So I ended up bloody playing the whole season. I think I played every minute. But I just made, because they were younger, I just made them run for me. I just made the ball do the work. And yeah, got in team of the season and all that. And I was like, this is nuts. But yeah, we got promoted that year. And then I was the assistant coach, just the assistant coach the year after. We got promoted again into the top league in the semi-pro level, and got offered the head coach role, which was my first one.
And what was that like to go straight into coaching? Because I suppose it is a bit different going into coaching because you were a player. So you would have known how to train a tiny bit. You would have experienced it before. So I suppose that would have taken some of the weight off it.
Yeah, as I said, I've been doing it a long time, so I knew what I wanted to do. I wasn't going in totally blind, but it was the man management part, managing up, the chairmans and the presidents and all that, managing sideways when you've got, your staff, sport S&C staff, physio staff, managing a wee bit down when it's the 23s and 18s coach and all the problems, and hearing about players can't come to training because their dog died and they can't do this because of that. And I mean, that's really sad, but it's things that you'd never had to experience and deal with. So yeah, that part was challenging, but I really loved it, mate. I still enjoy coming up with those solutions.
Are you a stubborn coach? Because I say that someone like Russell Martin, for example, goes into a club, plays their style of play, like Vincent Company. Are you the same type of guy? Do you want to go into a club and play your same formation every time, same tactics, same training, or are you a bit different? Do you adjust to the players that you've got?
I just had the conversation yesterday. I 100% adjust. I can see why coaches are stubborn if they've got their own way. But what I see a lot is they get sacked. I just see it so many times. I think you've got to adjust to the players you've got until you're a Pep Guardiola and you can buy someone that totally suits the way you want to play. Then I get it. Of course, that's the best, but that's 0.01% of coaches. You've got to adjust. You're there to win games. And there's no point in flogging a dead horse if you're not winning. So you have to adjust system, your formation. I think your principles can stay the same. I think your values stay the same. I try never to waver from them. And I say try because I'm only young, so sometimes you maybe did a wee bit. But even this year, like that, I won't waver away from that. But yeah, 100%, I would definitely adjust to who we're playing against, the players that are available, and how I feel we can win the game that weekend.
I know in Asia it's a tiny bit different, so let's base it off Europe and anything equivalent. So I suppose your UEFA A's, your C's, your pros. Firstly, what ones are you looking to do? And secondly, are you ever planning to leave Australia and maybe jump ship to a highly bigger job?
Yeah, well, over here I've done my A license, so it's the FFA A license. They don't convert it to the UEFA badges. So I think if I went back there, I'm pretty sure I'd have to start on the B. Maybe even the C. I actually don't know, mate, to be honest. I've not really looked into it because it's not been on my radar yet. Would I like a coach overseas at more of a football country as such? Yes, 100%. I think it would be amazing, mate. I would love it. It's kind of golden handcuffs over here because you'd love to go and go somewhere, another country, but this is such a beautiful place to live. I've got a young family. I'm not the kind of person that would go away for a year to coach and be away from my kids. I just feel like, football will still be there when the kids are up and left. So I will never do that. But yeah, there's still an itch in me to coach at a bigger club and more of a football country for sure. Just to be around more football people and challenge myself.
Well, Graham, look, this has been a marvellous interview. I've loved speaking to you about Celtic, Cheltenham, your managerial career, and into the future as well. If you ever get to England, make sure you text me. We can have a barbecue here somewhere, although the weather wouldn't quite match it.
We'll just do it anyway. Nah, mate, I would. 100%. I'd love to do it. It'd be great to meet in person, mate. Be great.
Well, thank you very much for joining me.
All right, Jamie. I appreciate it, mate. Thanks.